Hello everyone, this is Al Red Sox Fan coming to you from Al Red Sox Fan YouTube channel. Hope all is well. We're going to bring you some Glory Days boxing. Card and dice makes everything nice. Glory Days boxing and Glory Days college football can be purchased at sidelinestrategies.com, as well as Payoff Pitch and other wonderful Joe Bryant games. Glory Days boxing and Glory Days college football, created by Anthony Crooks. Our matchup tonight, light heavyweights, 12 rounds, Prime versus Prime, Ezzard Charles taking on John Henry Lewis. What If Promotions, in association with Glory Days Games, and Al Red Sox Fan brings you from Caesars Palace Outdoor Arena, Las Vegas, Nevada. Prime versus Prime, Charles versus John Henry Lewis, Matchmaker Extraordinaire, the Golden Eagle 99. Fight time is here. Joining us here in Las Vegas, Bernard Strom Sports Replays. Check out that wonderful channel for all of his wonderful Red Sox replays and more. Ezzard Charles will be out of the red corner. John Henry Lewis, the blue corner. Ezzard Charles, overall record in reality, 95-25-1 with 52 stoppages. Many of his defeats came when he was well past his prime. John Henry Lewis, record 100 victories, 11 defeats, 5 draws, 56 stoppages. John Henry Lewis, as well as Ezzard Charles, both fought Joe Lewis. John Henry Lewis fought Ezzard Charles in his prime, and it was his last fight. The significance of that heavyweight matchup, the first time two African Americans fought for the heavyweight title. Lewis would stop John Henry Lewis in 1 round. Ezzard Charles would defeat Joe Lewis when Joe Lewis came back to attempt to win his heavyweight title back after he retired. Ezzard Charles, 10-starred fighter. John Henry Lewis, 10-starred fighter. Ezzard Charles' money roll, as we like to say, the 1, that's 3 stars. John Henry Lewis's money roll is the 4, 3 stars, both from the outside. Ezzard Charles, trait, counterpoint. Any counter punches land, he'll hit you with another one. So instead of hitting with 2 counter shots, he hits you with 3. John Henry Lewis, he's a fast starter, blitzkrieg. +1 to power for the first 2 rounds. So his power goes from a 4 to a 5 for the first 6 minutes of pugilistic violence. Ezzard Charles, power is a 4 if he has you hurt. These are pre-fatigue numbers. His power is a 4, as I just stated. If he has you hurt, it stays a 4. Ezzard Charles is hurt 5 and under, goes down 3 and under, is knocked out 4 and under. Will check for Charles is a 4. Cut check is a 4. Foul check is a 3. Ezzard Charles in a 12-round bout. Stamina points, 110. John Henry Lewis. Power for the first 2 rounds is a 5. Then he'll drop to a 4. If he has you hurt, is a 5. If he has you hurt in the first 2 rounds, it is a 6 because of the blitzkrieg trait. John Henry Lewis is hurt 4 and under, is knocked down with a 1 roll. John Henry Lewis is KO'd with a 1 roll. Will check is a 2. Cut check is a 4. Foul check is a 5. Ezzard Charles on the inside, 0 through 53 he lands. On the outside, even better, 0 through 55. John Henry Lewis on the inside, 0 through 52 he lands. On the outside, not as proficient as inside or as what Ezzard Charles does, 0 through 47. Defense roll for Ezzard Charles, 1 through 5, he'll block punches. 1, 2, and 3, he'll block 1 punch or evade a punch. 4 and 5, he will block or evade 2 punches. He counters 1 through 8. And again, instead of scoring 2 counter punches, he will score 3 counter punches due to his counterpoint trait. John Henry Lewis defense 1 through 4. He'll evade a punch or block a punch. If he rolls a 5, you tag him with another one. John Henry Lewis counters 1 through 6. Our referee is Dave Gardner. Our scoring judges, Steeler fan Anthony Crooks, Ron Juckett. The ringside physician is the Honorable Dr. David Little. We are fighting from Caesars Palace Outdoor Arena, Las Vegas, Nevada. And once again, Matchmaker Extraordinaire, the Golden Eagle 99. Joining us here in Las Vegas, Cutter Historical. Check out that wonderful channel. Mr. Bassman and Bernard Strom Sports Replays. Let's get started with the first round. The pugilists are in the rings. They've had their final instructions from referee Dave Gardner. They touch gloves. They go back to their corners. Again, Charles in the red corner. John Henry Lewis in the blue. We await the bell, and here's the bell for round number 1. A 6 for Ezzard Charles. Charles tries to move in on John Henry Lewis. Lewis cannot keep him at bay. It's Charles on the inside, looking to land. Charles will land quite effectively with that 11. Charles rips the rib cage of John Henry Lewis. 3 shots into the ribs, left, right, left, and a chopping right hand to the side of the cranium of John Henry Lewis. Charles will have momentum. We continue with round number 1. A 2 and a 2. How do you do? That's going to favor Charles on the inside. Charles working hard for his money. Ezzard tries to land again, and Ezzard Charles will land again. 34. John Henry Lewis is eating a lot of punches here. That 34 on the inside. Right hand, left hook to the body, and a blazing left hook to the jaw of John Henry Lewis. Chin check for Lewis. As you see, the power is a 2. It's 4 or under. Let's see if John Henry Lewis can stand up to it. Lewis does, but a really fast start for Ezzard Charles. Usually it's John Henry Lewis with the fast start. We continue with round number 1. A 4 for Ezzard Charles. Charles stays in tight. John Henry Lewis is now forced back to the ropes. Can Charles bang away again? Yes, he can. Ezzard Charles with a 25 continues to rake the rib cage of John Henry Lewis. Left, right, left. 3 shots into the ribs of John Henry Lewis. Excellent start for Ezzard Charles. He is swarming all over John Henry Lewis. A 5 and a 5. Charles measuring as Lewis is on the ropes. Charles from distance. Charles looking to land, and Charles is going to land big. He feints a jab. Right hand crosses on the jaw of John Henry Lewis. Then a left, right, left, right. He is just swarming Lewis with punches. Lewis is trying to evade, but he's getting tagged over and over again. 5 punches get through. Tremendous barrage from Ezzard Charles. Chin check for John Henry Lewis. He's hurt 4 and under, down with a 1. He grabs on. What a start for the Cincinnati Cobra. Ezzard Charles, 140 to go in round number 1. A 6 for Charles. Charles tries to put his shoulder into Lewis and keep him on those ropes. Lewis is going to fight off those ropes. Lewis with a 45. He'll land a left to the body and a right hand to the head of Ezzard Charles, but Charles keeps him pinned to those ropes. We have a minute 20 left in round number 1. Lewis trying to mount a comeback. 2 for Ezzard Charles. 6 for John Henry Lewis. It's toe-to-toe warfare, but Lewis is back still to the ropes. He has mojo. Both fighters will land. Ezzard Charles will land more effectively. Charles banging away body and head with hooks. Those are 4 shots that get through for Ezzard Charles. What a start for Ezzard Charles. John Henry Lewis with a 39 lands a left-right to the body in that toe-to-toe exchange, but Lewis is still on those ropes, and we have a minute to go in round number 1. Charles has landed 19 damaging blows upon his opponent, John Henry Lewis. A 3 for Ezzard Charles. Charles backs up a bit. A 2 for John Henry Lewis. Both men start to move towards the center of the ring, trying to catch their breath, I guess. Toe-to-toe exchange from distance. Charles will not land. Neither will John Henry Lewis. A 98. Charles As they maul and brawl after the initial exchange from distance not land, Charles gets in his shot. As he starts to rough up John Henry Lewis, referee Gardner lets it go. 40 seconds to go in round number 1. A tremendous start for Ezzard Charles. A 3 and a 3. What will it be? It's John Henry Lewis dipping under the jab, getting in tight. John Henry Lewis will not land, though. That's an 88. No counter by Charles. 20 seconds to go. 20 seconds to go. A 6 and a 4. Charles stays inside. So does John Henry Lewis. Now John Henry Lewis spins him. John Henry Lewis at distance. Here comes the bell. John Henry Lewis cannot land with the 96, and he starts roughhousing Ezzard Charles. Ding, ding goes the bell. Referee Gardner letting them get away with little extracurricular activities. But what a round number 1 for Ezzard Charles. John Henry Lewis only landed 5 scoring punches. Ezzard Charles fighting beautifully on the inside, working the angles, then from distance, then back to the inside. Ezzard Charles landed 20 punches, dropping Lewis's stamina to 70. Unfreaking believable. So Ezzard Charles, Lewis never even had a chance. He only has one more round of blitzkrieg trait. Man, if he had hurt Lewis, I would give it a 10-8 round. But since Charles did not hurt Lewis, I give it a 10-9 round. Oops. Again, my scorecard unofficial. The 3 scoring judges: Steeler fan Anthony Crooks, Ron Juckett, joining us at ringside, Legend Sports Universe. He says, a little pugilism. Good evening, Al. Good evening. Check out that wonderful channel. He does a marvelous job creating his universes, rating every player in every game he has. He re-rates them. It's incredible. The knowledge, the patience, and the fortitude, I shall say, that our friend Legend Sports Universe has to make his wonderful, wonderful season files. That is a must subscribe, along with Cutter Historical and Bernard Strom's Sports Replays. All fun channels. Please check them out, subscribe, watch some videos, like, share, all that good stuff. Alright, so punch differential is a lot. It's a lot. Let's roll for the judges now. Steeler fans' scorecard is collected. What a tremendous round for Ezzard Charles. Anthony Crook's scorecard is collected. Ron Juckett's scorecard is collected. We prepare for round number 2. How do you do? You're welcome, Legend Sports Universe, as he says, thank you, sir, appreciate it. The work you do, and we got to get you on with a chat with Al. We got to start that up more regularly, but I like to have guests. I'm going to get Cutter Historical on. He's been wanting to come on. We're going to get Cutter Historical on. Maybe we'll even do it Saturday. Oh, I can't. Can I do it Saturday? Got the party to go to. We might, Friday or Saturday maybe, or next week sometime. Here we go, round number 2. Good to see everyone here in Las Vegas, Nevada, Caesars Palace Outdoor Arena. Charles will have momentum to start round number 2. Here's the bell for round number 2. A 1 for Ezzard Charles. A 6 for John Henry Lewis. John Henry Lewis in his corner. They told him, go out and get him, John Henry, as he races towards, almost reckless, with reckless abandon, towards Ezzard Charles. Charles keeps him at bay with the jab. Charles throws, and Charles will land. Charles is in charge. Boom, boom, boom. That's a 34 from distance. 2 jabs and a right hand strike. John Henry Lewis, as he tries to work his way inside, but is deterred by that beautiful combination by the Cincinnati Cobra. We continue with round number 2. A 6 for Ezzard Charles. Charles now staying in tight. A 4 for John Henry Lewis. It's Lewis from distance this time. Lewis will not land, though. There is no counter. No counter by Ezzard Charles. Charles slid in. Lewis missed his shots. Charles slid out. 2:20 to go in round number 2. A 5 for Ezzard Charles. Charles back behind that jab. A 3 for John Henry Lewis. It'll be a toe-to-toe exchange from distance. Lewis cannot work his way in, but he's going to let his hands go. And we have an event, a 99. We go to the event chart, Ezzard Charles. Lewis was trying to bomb away in there. He couldn't land, so we go to the event chart. I grabbed the handy-dandy event chart. Watch the red die right here. 62 on the event chart. Fighters taunt each other. There's animosity between these two. No action this turn. So a lot of mauling and brawling. Referee Dave Gardner says they come here to watch you fight. Not me, ref. 2 minutes to go. 2 minutes to go in round number 2. A 5 for Ezzard Charles. Charles, again, trying to establish that Cobra Kai, Cincinnati Cobra jab. A 6 for John Henry Lewis. Will be a toe-to-toe exchange from distance. As Charles has mojo. Neither pugilist will land. They seem a bit reluctant, Al. 140 to go in round number 2. A 2 for Ezzard Charles. Charles now decides to try to back up John Henry Lewis. He had a lot of success applying the pressure on good old John Henry. A 3 for John Henry Lewis. It's a toe-to-toe exchange. And John Henry Lewis will not give ground. Charles will land. John Henry Lewis will land. They're banging and banging away, but Charles getting the better of it. With that 16 roll, Charles lands 4 shots. Concentrating his shots to the body, but a chopping right hand at the end to the head of John Henry Lewis. Lewis with the 46 lands to the body with a left-right hook. Charles maintains momentum. 120 to go in round number 2. A 3 for Ezzard Charles. Charles backs away, circles left, now swings back right. 6 for John Henry Lewis. Henry Lewis cuts the distance, leaps in with some punches, but he cannot land. That's an 82. He misses. No counter. No counter by Ezzard Charles, though. Charles known for his counter punching, but the one thing John Henry Lewis has done well when he misses shots, he ties up Charles, not allowing him to punch. 1 minute to go in round number 2. A 2, Charles stays inside. A 6, John Henry Lewis. It's a toe-to-toe exchange, ring center. Neither pugilist will land. A lot of mauling and brawling. Referee Gardner breaks them. This has been a very sloppy round, though it is favoring Charles. 40 seconds to go in round number 2. A 5 for Ezzard Charles. Charles swings away from the inside, trying to establish the jab. They're telling Charles from his corner, you can hear it, throw the jab in the right hand. A 4 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis feints. Charles moves forward. John Henry will throw. John Henry will land. John Henry will land. He feinted the jab. Lands a right hand left hook. Another right hand. 3 punches. Big, big shots for John Henry Lewis. That 4 defensive roll. Charles was able to roll with 2 of those punches, so only 1 gets through, but it's a booyah right hand. Chin check for Charles. Charles is hurt. 5 and under, down 3 and under. Charles grabs on. But that was the first big, big shots landed by John Henry Lewis in this fight, though it is still early. 20 seconds to go. Will that punch give Lewis for some confidence? A 3 for Ezzard Charles. Charles staying away. He might have had his bell rung. A 4 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis pounces. Can Lewis land? No, he cannot. Lewis was throwing as hard as he could. They tie up. The referee breaks them. Ding, ding goes the bell and the trolley. A sloppy round, but a round that finally saw John Henry Lewis get through with a power shot. Though Charles stood up to it quite well. John Henry Lewis only scored 3 punches thanks to the defense of Ezzard Charles. Charles scored 7. I give that round close to Charles, 10-9. Again, my scorecard unofficial. Punch differentials 4. We'll go to the judges' scorecards and collect them. So punch differentials 4. Steeler fans' scorecard is collected. Anthony Crook's scorecard is collected. Ron Juckett's scorecard is collected. We prepare for round number 3, scheduled for 12 Caesars Palace Outdoor Arena, Las Vegas, Nevada. Lovely Las Vegas, Nevada. Fighters, a little delay as they wipe up some water in the corners. With that delay, I will take a swig of water. We prepare for round number 3. Lewis will have momentum to start round number 3. There's the bell. Round number 3, a 5 for Ezzard Charles. Charles working the jab, a 3 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis tries to get inside. He does. It's going to be a toe-to-toe exchange in tight as Lewis has mojo. Lewis will not land on the inside. Ezzard Charles will, and Lewis was throwing quite hard, but Ezzard Charles concentrated his shots shorter and crisper and quicker. Where Lewis was coming wide with his shots, Charles was coming between them. So that is a 27 inside. Right hand, left uppercut, and another right hand by Ezzard Charles crash upon the cranium of John Henry Lewis. 2 minutes to go in round number 3. Charles has mojo. A 2 for Ezzard Charles. He stays in tight. He's had a lot of good success inside. A 3 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis obliges. Toe-to-toe they go again. Both fighters will land it. And John Henry Lewis no longer in blitzkrieg mode. His punching power goes back to a 4. Had he been still in blitzkrieg mode, he would have had a chance for a knockdown with that 5. But both fighters land. John Henry Lewis with that 19 digs to the body twice, then up to the head with wide booming hooks. But they all score. 31 for Ezzard Charles. Charles punches between with 3 shots to the head of John Henry Lewis. Lewis will have momentum with 2:20 to go in round number 3. A 2 for Ezzard Charles, a 6 for John Henry Lewis. It's still phone booth warfare, center of the ring. 0-9. Both fighters will land, but John Henry Lewis gets the better of it. Charles scoring well with his shots. Combination to the body and head, but he stuck around a little too long. 4 shots get through for Ezzard Charles. The harder punches come from John Henry Lewis. That's a 29. Left to the jaw, right to the jaw, left to the jaw. 3 huge hooks on the jaw of the Cincinnati Cobra. Chin check for Charles. Charles is hurt 5 and under, down 3 and under. Watch the top red die. Charles is hurt. Charles is hurt from those booming hooks by John Henry Lewis. Lewis will go unopposed in the next segment. With 2 minutes to go in round 3, Charles is hurt. Lewis looking to capitalize here. Unopposed, he gets that 1. He's going to be on the outside. He needs to land 3 punches for a will check. 44, and they're big shots again. 44. He will not land the 3 shots for the will check, but there'll be another chin check. So the 44 jab and a big right hand land on Charles. Chin checks at 10, so Charles survives that. 140 to go. Charles trying to clear his head. A 1 for Ezzard Charles. Charles back at distance. Lewis a little wild, pressing in with a 5. Cannot get there. Charles will throw. Charles will not land. That's a 93. And they tie up and clinch. Charles still trying to clear his head. 120 to go in round number 3. A 5 for Ezzard Charles. Charles wary of the John Henry Lewis power now. A 1 for John Henry Lewis. Toe-to-toe exchange from distance. Lewis with mojo. Neither pugilist will land. A lot of mauling and brawling. Referee Gardner breaks them. Lewis is smothering himself. 1 minute to go. A very good round so far for John Henry Lewis. He rocked the Cincinnati Cobra, and it looks like Charles has not recovered yet. A 3 and a 3. What will it be? It's Lewis boring in on the inside. Charles can't hold him back. Lewis will land with a 26, banging away with a left-right to the body and a shorter right hand this time to the jaw of Ezzard Charles. Lewis taking control with about a minute to go here in round 3. 40 seconds to go. A 5 and a 2. Charles feints. Lewis moves forward. Charles cannot land. They circle, move away. 20 seconds to go in round 3. A 6 for Charles. A 1 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis feints. Charles moves forward. Lewis throws from distance. Lewis! Beautiful combination at the bell. Right hand, left uppercut. Right hand, left hook. Right hand, and a solid left into the ribs of Ezzard Charles. 5 punches get through. Huge shots for John Henry Lewis, his best round of this early contest. 17 shots get through for John Henry Lewis. He also rung the bell of Ezzard Charles. So John Henry Lewis, normally a fast starter, seems to have gotten started here in round 3. Lewis scores 17 punches to Charles 10. After 3 rounds, John Henry Lewis 25 punches scored. Ezzard Charles 37. Stamina check, Charles with 85 stamina points, Lewis with 53. We'll go to the judges. I give that a 10-9 round to Lewis. That's the first round to John Henry Lewis. Again, my scorecard unofficial. We'll go to the scoring judges now. The commission will collect their cards. Steeler fans' scorecard is collected. Anthony Crooks' scorecard is collected. Ron Jucket's scorecard is collected. We move on to round number 4. In the John Henry Lewis corner, they're very happy with their fighter. They say, we want more of that, John Henry. More of that. He will wilt in the wind, and you are the wind, John Henry. We prepare for round number 4. Here's the bell. It's a 6 for for Ezzard Charles, a 2 for John Henry Lewis. They meet at ring center. More phone booth warfare. They're working the angles. Charles will let his hands go. Charles will land. Charles coming back. John Henry Lewis was trying to rough him up. Ezzard Charles on the inside with that 18. Uppercut with a right. Then an uppercut with the left. Right hand, left hook. 4 hard shots on John Henry Lewis. Chin check for John Henry Lewis. He is hurt. 4 and under, down 1 and under. He's able to stand up to it. But you can see Ezzard Charles seems to have recovered from that battering he took in round number 3, in the last minute of round number 3. 2:40 to go in round 4. Charles has mojo. Charles with a 6, trying to stay in tight. A 5 for John Henry Lewis. More phone booth warfare. Billy goat to Billy goat. Toe to toe they go. But it's this time, it is John Henry Lewis getting the better of it. John Henry Lewis dipped low. Charles missed his shot. John Henry Lewis, 2 shots to the body. Right hand, left hook, and another right hand. Not everything got through, but that last right hand was quite powerful. 4 shots get through for John Henry Lewis. Chin check for Ezzard Charles. He missed his shots, so this becomes the chin check. He stands up to it. But John Henry Lewis, back and forth they go with momentum. 2:20 to go in round 4. A 5 and a 5. That's going to favor Charles from distance. Charles with a 47. Charles will land. 6 on the defensive roll. Nothing for John Henry Lewis. So the 42 for Ezzard Charles from distance. 2 jabs and a right hand catch John Henry Lewis. So 3 punches get through for Ezzard Charles. We continue with round 4. 2 minutes left in round number 4. A 2 for Charles. Charles moves forward. A 3 for John Henry Lewis. More phone booth warfare. Both fighters landing as they are banging away. Charles starts to wipe at his eye. I'm sorry, John Henry Lewis. No, it's Ezzard Charles who wipes out his eye. So a 23 for Ezzard Charles, bangs the body and up to the head in this toe-to-toe salvo. 3 punches get through for Ezzard Charles. 24 for John Henry Lewis, bangs the body and up to the head. 3 punches get through for John Henry Lewis. Now we have to check for a cut or facial abrasion for Ezzard Charles. Watch the top red die. The first time it's rolled, that was for the, because they landed, it would have been the power check just outside of his power range. 1, Ezzard Charles will have some sort of facial abrasion. What will it be? 12. 12. Cut near the left eye of Ezzard Charles. So John Henry Lewis really roughing up Charles in rounds 3 and 4 now. So Charles, cut, and it's a 12 left eye. 140 to go in round number 4. Charles blinking. He's got blood near that left eye. A 5 for Ezzard Charles. Charles trying to stay at distance. Now a 6 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis swarms him. Charles starting to back away. Lewis gets inside. Charles and Lewis will stand toe-to-toe. Both fighters will land, and again, they clash heads, and they're just firing away. A hellacious exchange. Ezzard Charles with the 14. Shots to the body and up to the head. 4 of them get through. Those are hard hooks and uppercuts there by Ezzard Charles. A 30 for John Henry Lewis. The fans on their feet here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Caesars Palace Outdoor Arena. So a 30 for John Henry Lewis. He gets through with 3 shots. They were all to the head. John Henry Lewis and Ezzard Charles, both facial abrasion checks. So first, Charles, he has a cut. So we're going to watch that top red die. 10! So with that 10, the cut will get worse near the left eye. The 14 means there is no abrasion or cut for John Henry Lewis. The 10 means for Ezzard Charles that cut near the left eye is getting worse with the shots that John Henry Lewis is landing. Referee Gardner looking on. Referee Gardner has called a halt to the action. He has called a halt to the action. That's a lot of blood coming near the left eye of Ezzard Charles. Charles saying he's okay. The referee, Dave Gardner, is calling for ringside physician Dr. David Little. This fight will be stopped. 1, 2, or 3. Watch the top red die. Referee Gardner and Dr. David Little, they discuss. They're going to let the fight go on. 120 to go in round 4. Charles will have urgency now. A 2 for Ezzard Charles. Charles bores in. A 1 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis parries him away, but it's going to be a toe-to-toe exchange from distance. Lewis will not land. Ezzard Charles will. Ezzard Charles, fueled on by the blood, opening up. Right hand, left hook, right hand, left uppercut. He's banging away. The right hand gets through again. Now a left hook and another right hand. Not every shot got through, but the ones that did were quite hard. The Cincinnati Cobra looking to strike and strike hard, and he has. Can John Henry Lewis stand up to it? 22, 3 punches get through for Ezzard Charles. Chin check for John Henry Lewis. Hurt 4 and under, down 1 and under. He is hurt. John Henry Lewis is hurt. What a hellacious round here in round number 4. 1 minute to go. Ezzard Charles, a lot of blood near that left eye. They've already looked at it once. He knows the end could be near. He's got to take out John Henry Lewis, and he's trying his best here. Charles goes unopposed. 3. He's from the outside. He lands 0 through 55. He wants a low roll here for a possible will check. 37. Is it low enough? 37. Yes, it is. John Henry Lewis on the ropes. Charles measuring, banging away with a right and a left and another right. He is opening up. Punches are getting through. Punches are getting through. The will check. Oh! Just misses. John Henry's will check is a 2. It is a 3. Wow. Power 5, so that will not be another power check. Wow. Indeed. John Henry Lewis being battered on the ropes. Referee Dave Gardner almost jumped in there. Charles has mojo. 40 seconds to go in round 4. A 2 for Ezzard Charles. A 1 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis back to the ropes. He's going to fight like a mad honey badger. This is a toe-to-toe exchange. Charles pressing in. Neither pugilist will land. They tie up. Referee Gardner breaks them. The Charles corner is screaming, watch the holding and hitting. Regarding to the shots that John Henry Lewis just got in. 20 seconds to go. In round number 4, a tremendous round. 6 for Ezzard Charles. Charles staying in tight. 1 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis spins Charles into the ropes at the bell. But he cannot land. He misses the shots. They fall into each other. Charles puts John Henry Lewis in a headlock. Referee Gardner separates both pugilists. But an excellent round for Ezzard Charles, even though he was cut quite badly near the left eye. They'll go to work on that cut immediately as Charles sits down in his corner. Ezzard Charles scored 20 punches, bloody left eye or not. He doubles John Henry Lewis's total, and he hurt John Henry Lewis. Ezzard Charles has now landed 57 punches compared to John Henry Lewis's 10. But that cut is bad. They quickly get the coagulant in there. They're pressing down in there to let that coagulant do its job. I see that round 10-9 Charles. John Henry Lewis with 33 stamina points left. Charles still with 75. So Charles, if he can survive this cut, can take John Henry Lewis into deep waters, it seems. Let's get the scores, the scorecards from the judges. Once again, the judges are Steeler fan Anthony Crooks, Ron Juckett. And their scorecards are being collected as I speak. Things are starting to go Charles' way, but that cut is not good. What cut is good? None, but this is not good. Matchmaker extraordinaire, the TheGoldenEagle99 has joined us. Hope all is well. Richie L1991 is here. Cutter Historical, Legend Sports Universe, Mr. Bassman, and Bernard Strom Sports Replays. We prepare for round number 5 in the Ezzard Charles corner. Ringside physician Dr. David Little and the referee Dave Gardner have just gone from there. They had a quick conversation. You could hear the good doctor, Dr. David Little, say, keep an eye on it. They're telling Charles in his corner, you got to get him. You got to get him. In the John Henry Lewis corner, they want him to work that eye. Here's the bell for round number 5. A 3 for Ezzard Charles. Charles at distance, trying to let that coagulant do some work. A 1 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis looks to work the eye from the distance. He can't land. That's a 74. He will miss. That is an 8 on a missed punch. Charles counters 1 through 8. Charles, right hand, left hook, right hand. 3 countering shots by Ezzard Charles. Once again, normally just 2 for fighters, but Ezzard Charles has the counterpoint. Add 1 to all counters landed. My homebrew rule, any legal punch that lands, power and chin check. Doesn't meet the requirements. Round 5 continues. Charles continues with momentum. 2:40 to go. A 6 for Ezzard Charles. Charles now trying to evade a swarming John Henry Lewis. Lewis with a 3. Lewis gets inside. Lewis looks to rake the body and up to the head. He will. That is a 30 on the inside for John Henry Lewis. Right hand to the head and a left right to the body. Good 3-shot combination by John Henry Lewis. He has momentum. 2:20 to go in round number 5. A 5, Ezzard Charles. A 6, John Henry Lewis. Toe-to-toe inside they go again as Lewis stays in tight. Lewis banging away. Ezzard Charles is not able to land in that toe-to-toe exchange. Lewis concentrating his shots to the body now with that 15. 4 hard body shots. Trying to slow down Charles even more. You can see the blood near the left eye of Ezzard Charles. 2 minutes ago in round 5. 4 for Charles. Charles stays in tight. 1 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis spins him. Toe-to-toe. Outside. Both fighters. Both fighters will land. Charles with a 31 from distance. Right hand, left of the body, and another right hand to the head. 3 punches get through for Ezzard Charles. 34 for John Henry Lewis. 3 punches get through for John Henry Lewis. They're wide hooks, but they land. Lewis maintains momentum. We have 1:40 to go in round 5. Still trying to bust open that eye even worse. A 1 for Ezzard Charles. A 6 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis moves in. Charles evades. Charles throws the jab. Charles cannot land. That is a 91. He ties up and on charging John Henry Lewis. Referee breaks them. 1:20 to go in round 5. A 3, Ezzard Charles. Charles trying to regroup from the outside. A 6 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis not allowing Charles to breathe. He pounces on him. Lewis throws 58. He will not land, and he was throwing quite hard, but those shots are wide and wild. Charles was very easily able to evade them, but he does not counter. 1 minute to go in round 5. A 1 for Charles. A 5 for Lewis. Charles looking to land the jab in the right hand, and he will! Jab, right hand, left uppercut, right hand, and a left into the body. 5 punches get through. Hard shots by Ezzard Charles. Charles trying to bring it down the stretch. 40 seconds ago. This is a very close round. Charles still with blood near the left eye. It's getting worse and worse. 3 for Ezzard Charles. Charles backs away. Charles pawing at his eye. 5 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis goes into pounce. Charles tries to tie him up. Lewis works his hands free. Lewis looks to punch on the inside. 43. He bangs 2 shots into the ribs of Ezzard Charles. Good job by John Henry Lewis. 20 seconds ago, Lewis has mojo. 2 for Charles. 4 for John Henry Lewis. John Henry Lewis looks to use the jab. Right hand. He misses. Ding, ding goes the bell. What a close round. Holy cow. I'm going to give that even. I give that round 10-10. Punch differential 1 favoring John Henry Lewis. He scored 12 punches. Charles had that big salvo near the 1 minute mark, and then it was all John Henry Lewis willing his way to the inside, banging away to the ribs and head of the Cincinnati Cobra, Ezzard Charles. So Charles had 11. I give the round even. So after 5 rounds, unofficially I have it 49 Charles, 47 John Henry Lewis. So punch differential is 1. We go to the judges' scorecards, as the commission will collect them. Punches favor John Henry Lewis by 1. The scorecards are being collected here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We move on to round number 6. Round number 6. Momentum is with John Henry Lewis. Once again, we have Matchmaker Extraordinaire, the Golden Eagle 99, Richie L 1991, Cutter Historical, Legend Sports Universe, Mr. Bassman, and Bernard Strom Sports Replays. Round 6 is upon us. They wipe the water up in each corner. First thing, as soon as Charles got back to his corner, immediately with the coagulant in that cut near the left eye, and they squeeze down on it, you can see Charles wince a bit, but they got to get that coagulant to get in there and work as they press down. Round 6, here's the bell. Scheduled for 12, a 1 for Ezzard Charles, a 2 for John Henry Lewis. While John Henry Lewis waits, Charles throws punches, and Charles is going to land. He opens up with a 5-punch salvo. Beautiful combination by Ezzard Charles, snapping the head of John Henry Lewis over and over again. Last punch being a left uppercut. John Henry Lewis backs up, looks to regroup. Great combination to start off round number 6 by Ezzard Charles. Takes momentum away from John Henry Lewis. 2:40 going round 6. A 4 for Charles. Charles moves forward. A 1 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis trying to stay away, but Charles cuts the ring off. Toe-to-toe inside they go. Neither pugilist will land. 96, though, for John Henry Lewis. Possible foul, and it will be a foul. He did get one shot in. Then it looks like he was doing a lot of illegal tactics. I saw some rabbit punching in there, but let's see what Uncle Dave Gardner sees. A 14 on John Henry Lewis's foul check. The first roll was a 4, and it was below 5 or below. You go to the foul check. So John Henry Lewis, 14, holding and hitting, holding and hitting. So round 6, John Henry Lewis will be worn, holding and hitting. Clock starts up again. 2:20 to go in round 6. 2 for Ezzard Charles. 4 for John Henry Lewis. It's Lewis from distance. Charles cannot work his way in. And Charles was throwing hard. And he was off balance when he was throwing. John Henry Lewis could not capitalize. Neither fighter lands in that exchange, where Lewis should have got the better of it, but he couldn't. 2 minutes to go in round 6. A 2 for Ezzard Charles. A 4 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis from distance. And again, they cannot land. They tie up. Referee Gardner breaks them. A lot of wrestling, a lot of mauling and brawling. And I'll have to say some questionable tactics by each pugilist. You can see blood still near the left eye starting to drip a little more and more and more from Ezzard Charles. 5-2. Charles on the outside is quicker with his hands than John Henry Lewis. Charles will throw. 27. Charles will land. 8 defensive roll, nothing for John Henry Lewis. With that 27 from distance for Ezzard Charles. 2 jabs and a solid right cross. Catch John Henry square in the face. 1:20 to go in round 6. 4 for Ezzard Charles. Charles moves forward. 1 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis backs up, but Charles pounces on him. Charles with a 50 on the inside, 46, and they bang away, head and body. Both fighters get in a couple of shots. 2 for Charles, just outside of his punching power range. 2 for John Henry Lewis. Charles maintains momentum. We have 1 minute to go. 1 minute to go here in round number 6. 5 for Ezzard Charles. Charles back at distance. 4 for John Henry Lewis. Both men starting to jab, but Lewis's jab is going to be a bit quicker. Charles was winding up. Lewis disrupted him with the jabs, but he really didn't land. 40 seconds to go in round 6. 3 and a 3. What will it be? It's John Henry Lewis rushing in. Right at Ezzard Charles. John Henry Lewis will miss his shots. That's a 58 on the inside. Missing his shots. That leads to the 6 as a counter roll. 3 counter punches by Ezzard Charles. John Henry Lewis came in wide. Ezzard Charles met him with a left uppercut a right hook, and a left hook. 3 shots get through for Ezzard Charles. Again, homebrew rule, any legal punch. Power and chin check. Power! Booyah! But the chin check, John Henry Lewis stands up to it. 20 seconds ago, an excellent round for the bloody Ezzard Charles. 2 for Charles. 6 for John Henry Lewis. Toe-to-toe, ring center as the bell rings. John Henry Lewis, Ezzard Charles flailing away, not landing. The bell rings. Now they start to wrestle, maul, and brawl. Referee Dave Gardner gets in there. Corners coming out to help restore order and bring their pugilists back to where they need to be seated. They will go to work on that cut near the left eye of Ezzard Charles in his corner. John Henry Lewis gets to his corner, and they're telling him, you gotta let your hands go, John. You gotta let your hands go. A lot of wrestling, John. You gotta punch. Ezzard Charles, another nice round. He's been battling that cut since round 4. Charles lands 13 punches. John Henry Lewis only 3. That's a 10-punch differential. The judges' scorecards are being collected by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Scorecards have been collected. So at the halfway point, that's round 6, right? Yes, it is. I give that round 10-9 to Charles. Oops. 10-9 to Ezzard Charles. I have it 59-56 Ezzard Charles. The foul was on John Henry Lewis, Golden Eagle 99, for holding and hitting. Prepare for round number 7. They've done a fairly good job with that cut near the left eye of Ezzard Charles. Charles will have momentum to start round 7. We'll check the stamina points in a second. Cutter Historical says, if he's battling that cut, I would be KO'd easily. He's battling through it, Cutter Historical. He's battling through it. So stamina points, John Henry Lewis only has 9 stamina points. We have to watch if he goes fatigued in round 7. Ezzard Charles still with 60 stamina points. Here we go. Round number 7. They're telling John Henry Lewis, go for it, go for it. A 5 and a 5. Who will get poked in the eye? It looks like John Henry Lewis possibly, as Ezzard Charles from distance. And there's Ezzard Charles. Landing, and landing. That's a 20. 2 jabs and a right hand. And then a left hook into the labanza of John Henry Lewis. 4 punches get through. John Henry Lewis down to 5 stamina points. 2:40 to go in round 7. Charles taking John Henry Lewis into the deep water. 6. Charles now moves forward. 2 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis cannot fend him off. It's the Cincinnati Cobra, Ezzard Charles, in tight, but he cannot land. That's a 97 as Charles looks to rough up John Henry Lewis. He gets a shot in, and then some dirty tactics. Referee Gardner lets them go. 2:20 to go in round 7. A 4 and a 2. How do you do? It's going to be Charles on the inside. He had gotten a shot in. So Lewis down to 4 stamina points. Ezzard Charles trying to wear him out. 57. He will not land. Counter. No. John Henry Lewis counters 1 through 6. That's a 7. John Henry Lewis is fading. Fading like the sun into the night. And the night being Ezzard Charles. 2 minutes to go in round number 7. A 5 for the Cincinnati Cobra. He's on the outside. A 2 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis is exhausted, but the Cincinnati Cobra cannot take advantage of it. That's a 92. He misses. Lunges in towards Lewis. Lewis ties him up. They break. 140 to go in round 7. A 1 for Charles. A 2 for John Henry Lewis. Charles looking to work that jab. 37. 2 jabs in the right hand. Nail. John Henry Lewis. 3 punches get through for Ezzard Charles. Charles paws at that eye. Even though John Henry Lewis has not landed this round, the blood starts to trickle through the goop. The grease they put on that eye. Been a lot of contact on the inside by John Henry Lewis, not necessarily scoring punches. 120 to go in round number 7. 5, Charles on the outside. 6, Lewis moves towards him. It's a toe-to-toe exchange from distance. And it's Ezzard Charles being the shorter, quicker puncher, straighter puncher with that 29. Lewis is coming in wide. Charles is punching in between it. In that toe-to-toe exchange, Lewis does not land effectively at all. It is Ezzard Charles landing and landing quite well. 3 punches get through for Ezzard Charles. John Henry Lewis is now... 3 punches get through. So John Henry Lewis is now fatigued. He probably actually went fatigued on that last combo. So when a fighter goes fatigued, you now go to the right column. Punching power down to a 2, but if he has you hurt, goes to a 3. He's hurt 5 and under, down 2 and under. Knocked out 3 and under. Will check as a 4. All punches now will be landed, will be reduced by 1 for John Henry Lewis. 120 to go in round number 7. A 1, Charles from the outside, firing away. Oh, he can't land, though. He cannot land as John Henry Lewis smothers him. 98. Again, a little bit of some roughhouse tactics by Ezzard Charles. He's had enough of John Henry Lewis's roughhouse tactics. Referee Dave Gardner's letting him fight, though. 1 minute to go in round 7. A 5 for Charles. Charles on the outside. A 1 for John Henry Lewis, toe-to-toe from distance. Both fighters, neither will land, but a 99. We go to the event chart for John Henry Lewis. Holy cow. And now let's just keep an eye on this. If it's punches landed, this is the way I play it. When we look at the event chart, you see that 3? Oh, the 3's just outside of his power anyway. The 3's outside of his power. But I would have counted that for power. All right, watch the bottom 2 blue dive. 87. 87. Both fighters get cautious. -1 punch landed for both the rest of the round. So with 40 seconds to go, John Henry Lewis is fatigued. That's minus a punch. Now with the 87, that's minus a punch for both landed. A 1, Charles on the outside. John Henry Lewis will counter. 86 from distance for Ezzard Charles. He misses. Counter shot, but -1 for fatigue, -1 for being cautious. There's no counter. 20 seconds to go. Both fighters very cautious now. 4 for Ezzard Charles. He moves forward. A 5 for John Henry Lewis. Charles to punch. Charles will land -1, and then we'll go ding ding goes the bell. 32 on the inside. Charles gets off 2 quick punches and moves away. He does not stay in tight. So only 2 out of 3 punches land. The bell sounds to end round 7. Ezzard Charles takes that round quite easily. And exhausted John Henry Lewis goes back to his corner. They'll be throwing some ice down his trunks. They'll try anything to revive John Henry Lewis. John Henry Lewis landed zilch. There's only one way to see that round. Had Ezzard Charles hurt John Henry Lewis, I would have made it a 10-8 round, but he did not. So it's 10-9 for Charles. We prepare for round number 8. I have it 69-65, but that cut is a big factor here. They've already looked at it once. If somehow they look at it another time, it's a possible stoppage 1 through 9. And that's what they're telling John Henry Lewis in his corner. He's bleeding. You got it. You can do it, John Henry. They're telling him in his corner, you can do it, John Henry. In the Charles corner, they want Ezzard to box. Whether moving in, if he moves in, they want him to get his punches off like the Cobra he is and move away. We go to the judges' scorecards that will be collected by the Nevada State Athletic Commission here in lovely Las Vegas, Nevada. And the scorecards are being collected as I speak. We're preparing for round number 8. Round number 8. Charles looks to be in total command here. Fatigued. John Henry Lewis still has hope of trying to bust that cut open even worse and get a stoppage. As he has gotten tired, his punches are getting wider and wider, allowing Charles to punch inside the wide punching of John Henry Lewis. Here's the bell for round number 8, scheduled for 12. 5 for Ezzard Charles. Charles back at distance. 4 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis dips, comes up winging. 42. 42. So that was a 5 and a 4. John Henry Lewis's money rolls a 4. That's 3 stars compared to 2. So John Henry Lewis from distance, 42. He will land. He'll miss with the left hook, but land with the right hand. Fatigue, you knock off 1 punch. Lewis has momentum. Charles beginning to blink again. Blood starting to come from that cut near the left eye. 2:40 to go in round 8. A 1 for Ezzard Charles. Charles back behind that jab. And Charles, look at Charles. Beautiful job by Ezzard Charles. Unbelievable. 2 jabs, a right hand. He feints the left hook. Booyah! Comes back with the right hand. 4 shots. Lewis absorbs them all. Chin check. Chin check for the fatigued John Henry Lewis. Hurt 5 and under, down 2 and under. And he is tough as nails. He survives the chin check. 2:20 to go in round number 8. Ezzard Charles with mojo. A 5 for Charles. Charles seeing victory. Goes back to that jab. A 2 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis exhausted, trying to stay low. Charles cannot land his punches, though. Lewis was able to evade them. 2 minutes to go. No counter by Lewis, though. 3 for Charles. Charles trying to regroup. Charles, maybe he's looking for his second win now. 6 for John Henry Lewis. John Henry Lewis leaps into the inside, winging his punches, but he cannot land. He cannot land. Charles ties him up. Referee breaks him. 1:40 to go in round number 8. A 2. Charles stays in tight. He is sensing that John Henry Lewis is weakening. It's going to be a toe-to-toe exchange. Charles has momentum. Charles will land. John Henry Lewis will land. Lewis only lands 1 to the body. Again, his shots are wide. Charles with a 12 lands 4 shots, clipping Lewis once to the body and 3 times to the dome. It was a left hook to the body, then a right, left, right to the head of John Henry Lewis. 1:20 to go in round number 8. Did that just roll or not roll? I guess it did. A 1 and a 3. Charles from outside, going in and out, darting. Feints. Booyah! Left hook, right hand. And a left uppercut. Another right hand. 4 punches get through for Ezzard Charles. Oh my lord, what a nifty combination. He slid back and forth, delayed a little bit to really tag John Henry Lewis with each punch he threw. Chin check for the fatiguing John Henry Lewis. Lewis stands up to it. 1 minute to go. It's all Ezzard Charles in this round. 5 for Charles. Charles looking to land the Cobra Kai right hand behind the jab once again. 4 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis wiggles his legs like he's hurt. Charles moves 40. Oh, Lewis lays a trap. John Henry wings his punches. John Henry will land. John Henry will land his wide punches. 2 out of 3 get through. Both shots to the head. The third left hook, Charles was able to parry away. No quitting John Henry Lewis. Takes momentum with 40 seconds to go in round number 8. A 1 and a 1. That's Charles from the outside. 37. Ezzard Charles is going to land. 2 jabs and a right hand. Right in the face of John Henry Lewis. Final seconds of round number 8. Charles boxing his way to victory. As I say that, John Henry Lewis leaps in. 31. Holy cow! John Henry Lewis out of nowhere leaps in. Windmilling punches. Tagging Ezzard Charles. That's a 31. The overhand right caught Charles to the top of the head. The left hook missed, but the right hand caught Charles on the jaw. Charles hurt. 5 and under, down 3 and under. Watch the top red die. Charles grabs on. Ding, ding goes the bell. Anxious moments at the end of that round for Ezzard Charles. No quitting John Henry Lewis. He is exhausted. He's huffing and puffing as he goes back to his corner. Ezzard Charles will take that round in our eyes. Though John Henry Lewis did his best to knock Ezzard Charles' block off. Punch differential 8 favoring Ezzard Charles. We give that round unofficially to Ezzard Charles 10-9. After 8 rounds, we have it 79-74. And immediately they go to work on that cut near the left eye of Ezzard Charles. They've done a fairly good job on it. But there's always that anxiousness at any moment. The fight could be stopped for that cut. Punch differential, what did I say, 8. The judges' scorecards will be collected. Steeler fans' scorecard is collected. Anthony Crooks' scorecard is collected. Uncle Ron Jucket's scorecard is collected. I have it unofficially, as you can see. 5-point lead for Ezzard Charles. He still has 54 stamina points. John Henry Lewis went fatigued in round 7, I think it was. I should write that down. But he is fatigued now. Has been since round 7. We prepare for round number 9. Ezzard Charles with momentum. Actually, John Henry Lewis with momentum, excuse me. He landed that salvo. Again, referee Dave Gardner and ringside physician Dr. David Little taking a look at Ezzard Charles. Charles' corner saying, "Are you nuts? We're ahead in the fight." They will let the fight continue. The bell for round number 9. A 6 for Charles. Charles ring center. A 4 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis races out, lets his hands go. 45. He will only land one shot. The right hand to the head missed. The left to the body found its mark into the ribs of Ezzard Charles. 2:40 to go in round 9. 5 for Charles. He's on the outside. 6 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis works his way in. He has mojo toe-to-toe exchange in tight. Phone booth warfare is going to favor Ezzard Charles here. So Charles with the phone booth warfare, though that 90 is going to be a clinch on the inside. So no punches get in. The way I play that, since Henry Lewis has momentum, it nullifies. The clinch takes precedent. That's the way I play it. 2:20 to go in round 9. 5 and a 5. Charles from distance. 22. Ezzard Charles pecking away with the jab in the right hand. Good job by Ezzard Charles. Working the jab, then striking John Henry Lewis with a good right cross. 3 punches get through for the Cincinnati Cobra. And you can see the trickle of blood from the cut near the left eye of Ezzard Charles. 2 minutes to go in round 9. 4 for Charles. Charles moving in. Wants a fight in and out. 2 for Lewis. Lewis Not putting resistance up. Charles stays inside with the 26. Charles on the inside. Right hand. Left hook. Right hand. The shots are all to the head now by Ezzard Charles upon John Henry Lewis. Charles looking for the KO. 140. 140 to go in round number 9. 6 for Charles. Charles stays in tight. 1 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis sidesteps. Lewis throws behind the jab. 55. He will not land. Ezzard Charles comes back. Right hand. Left uppercut. Right hand. Beautiful 3-punch combination on the counter. Homebrew rule. Any legal punch that lands, I go power and chin check. Booyah. They stand up to it. John Henry Lewis stands up to it. Didn't meet the requirement for the power check anyway for Ezzard Charles. 120 to go in round number 9. 3 for Ezzard Charles. Charles staying in tight. He is sensing John Henry Lewis is done. 1 for John Henry Lewis. It will be a toe-to-toe exchange inside. Lewis dangerously close to those ropes. Neither pugilist will land, though. Now they maul, brawl. Some more underhanded, dirty tactics by both. Referee Gardner breaks them. Referee Gardner has let a lot go tonight. 1 minute to go in round 9. 5 and a 5. It'll be Charles pawing the jab as John Henry Lewis lays on the ropes. Charles looking to land. Charles lands. Holy cow. Charles will land. Lewis will evade 1 punch out of the 4. 3 punches land for Ezzard Charles as he's working the jab and the right cross. Ezzard Charles now up to 12 punches in round 9. 40 seconds to go. Charles with mojo. 1 for Charles. 2 for John Henry Lewis. It favors Charles from the outside. Lewis still lingering on those ropes. There's a 45 by Ezzard Charles. Jab and a right hand again strikes the cranium of John Henry Lewis. 14 scoring blows. Final 20 seconds. A round of dominance for the Cincinnati Cobra. 3 and a 3. What will it be? It will be John Henry Lewis fighting off the ropes. And he will land. And he lands and he hit that 20. Holy cow. Danger, 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 Will Robinson. 32. Fighting off the ropes. Lands 2 out of 3. Striking the left side of Ezzard Charles. Will it make the cut worse? The bell goes ding ding, but you see that 20? Now the first roll, that's a 5 on defense. So he actually, wait a second, hold on. He gets hit with nothing because the 5 is the defensive roll, the initial roll, right? Fatigue. John Henry Lewis loses a punch for fatigue. The 5, 4, and 5, Ezzard Charles' defense takes away 2 more punches. A frustrated John Henry Lewis doesn't land in reality. So ding ding goes the bell. There's a clash of heads. That's just me making that call there. And again, what happened there is it looks like John Henry Lewis should land 3 punches. He loses a punch for fatigue and the defense roll because Ezzard Charles did not have control. And it wasn't toe-to-toe. This now becomes a defense roll. It's a 5. You look over here, 4 and 5, -2. That's how good defensive fighter Ezzard Charles is, as well as a counterpuncher. Ezzard Charles, and that was huge. Had punches landed and you go to that cut check and it's a 10, it would have been the 3rd time, 1 through 9, possible TKO. Instead, fatigue and Ezzard Charles' defense denies John Henry Lewis the punches he needed to land. So we give that round 10-9 to Ezzard Charles. Some anxious moments there, boy. 14-1. Punch differential 13. Judges' scorecards are being collected by the commission here in Nevada. They're telling John Henry Lewis, you need a knockout. But you never know. This fight's in Vegas. You never know the crazy shenanigans that go on in Las Vegas. Brian Patterson's joined us. Hope all is well. We also have TheGoldenEagle99, matchmaker extraordinaire here at ringside. Cutter Historical. Richie L, 1991. Legend Sports Universe, Mr. Bassman, and Bernard Strom Sports Replays. We're coming up on round number 10. Punches landed for Ezzard Charles, 123. For John Henry Lewis, 57. Ezzard Charles still has 53 stamina points. John Henry Lewis went fatigued in round 7. Here we go, round number 10, scheduled for 12. Always, when Charles goes back to his corner, they work on that cut. The referee and the doctor take a look at the cut every round since the cut has taken place in round 4. The bell for round number 10, a 1 for Ezzard Charles. Charles from the outside. Charles letting his hands go. Charles is in charge. That's a 27. Beautiful 2 jabs and a right hand. He could throw that combination in his sleep. 3 punches land for Ezzard Charles. 2:40 to go in round 10. A 3 and a 3. What will it be? John Henry Lewis trying as hard as he can. The charge of the Light Brigade. John Henry Lewis will land. Doesn't he need that 20, though? 19 or 20 there. But 0-6 on the inside for John Henry Lewis. He's going to get in 3 out of 4 punches. Best combination he's thrown in quite some time. He'll take momentum with 2:20 to go in round 10. A 3. That's a horrible roll for Ezzard Charles. No stars. A 6 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis staying in tight. Lewis 51. 51. He'll land 1 body shot as Ezzard Charles smothers him. 2 minutes ago, they have told John Henry Lewis, you got to go for the knockout. A 4 and a 4. That's Lewis from the outside. That's 3 stars. 53. He will not land. And there is the counter. There is the counter by Ezzard Charles. 3-punch combination on the counter. Left hook, right hand, left hook. Beautiful countering shots by Ezzard Charles. Again, my homebrew rule. Any legal punch that lands, power and chin check. 20. Well, that was just to see the power check, so that doesn't matter. Charles has momentum. Hate when that pops up. 140 going round 10. Lewis is giving it his all. 5 and a 5. It's Charles from the outside. 55. Charles will land a jab and a right hand. Watch the blue top die. Cut check 4 and under for John Henry Lewis. No cut. He blinks, he paws at his eye, but there's no blood, just the normal wear and tear in such a pugilistic contest. Charles still has that cut. You see blood near the left eye. 120 to go in round 10. 4 for Charles. Charles moves forward. A 6 for John Henry Lewis. Toe-to-toe exchange inside. Charles with momentum. 66. Charles will not land. 43. Lewis lands 1 shot to the body, missed the shot to the head. They tie up. Referee Gardner breaks them. 1 minute to go in round 10. John Henry Lewis with momentum. A 2 for Ezzard Charles. A 6 for John Henry Lewis. More phone booth toe-to-toe. Billy Goat warfare. Neither pugilist lands. Charles was throwing quite hard there. 40 seconds to go in round 10. 2. Charles on the inside. 1. Lewis on the outside. Lewis has momentum. It'll be a toe-to-toe exchange from distance. 96. That will be a clinch. Referee breaks him. 20 seconds to go in round 10. 5 and a 5. It's Ezzard Charles punching at the bell. 49 from distance. Jab and a right hand. Ding, ding goes the bell. Ezzard Charles takes that round. He scores 10 punches. He's starting to get a little winded from hitting John Henry Lewis so much. John Henry Lewis, no quit though. He landed 5. 2 more rounds to go. We have Charles comfortably ahead after 10. 99-92. Our scorecard unofficial. Charles still has 48 stamina points. John Henry Lewis went fatigued in round 7. He has negative 43 stamina points. Punch differential is 5. Punch differential is 5. The judges' scorecards are being collected. Again, in the John Henry Lewis corner, They're telling him, you need a knockout. You need a knockout. I don't know if John Henry Lewis can muster such an attack. He is very tired. Again, sometimes I forget to move the momentum, but I know who has it. All right, here we go. Final 6 minutes of boxing. If Ezzard Charles stands, he wins the fight. But the wild card is that cut near the left eye of Ezzard Charles. They've looked at it twice. They've looked at it once, and they almost stopped it, but they let it go. That was back in round 4. Here's the bell for round number 11. 3 for Charles. Charles staying away, sensing he's well ahead. At 2 for John Henry Lewis. They circle. Now they'll throw from distance. John Henry Lewis with an 88 will not land. He doesn't have momentum anyway. 26. 26. Charles will land. 2 jabs and a right hand. And that's a 19. So John Henry Lewis did not land. So this now turns into the cut check. That's the way when I'm playing it like this. So no cut check. Doesn't meet the 4 and under. 240 to go in round 11. 5 for Charles. Charles on the outside. 4 for John Henry Lewis. Lewis is a bit quicker from distance. 58. He doesn't land. Charles moves away. 220 to go in round 11. 3. Charles stays away. 4. John Henry Lewis is punching. John Henry Lewis, and he's got it. He's got it. John Henry Lewis winging everything he has. Those punches might be wide, but they're quick, and they're catching Ezzard Charles in the dome over and over again. That's a 0-6. 3 out of those 4 punches, but he's just flailing away. The punches are getting through. And there's that 20. There is that 20. This first red roll was for defense. Charles gets hit with the punches. Now, if it is a 10, 1 through 9, the fight will be stopped due to the cut left eye. Watch that red top die. It is a 2! Holy crap! Referee Dave Gardner has called a halt to the action. Ezzard Charles complaining vehemently. He goes over. The doctor's going to take a look at it. Ezzard Charles says he's fine. The fans are booing here in Las Vegas. 1 through 9. 1 through 9. Watch that top red die. The fight stopped. It is over! It is over! It is over! John Henry Lewis has TKO'd Ezzard Charles, even though he was losing the fight handily. But what did we just say? The wild card was the cut left eye. Ezzard Charles complaining, his corners complaining, boos raining down upon referee Dave Gardner and Dr. David Little. Holy cow, debris is being hurled towards the 2 men. Security trying to take control here. Security trying to take control as more objects flying towards the ring, and referee Dave Gardner and the ringside physician Dr. David Little. John Henry Lewis has pulled off the biblical miracle. He gets the TKO via the cut near the left eye. Ezzard Charles shaking his head. We're going to show you, we're going to try to get a hold of the scorecards. And now security is ushering out the referee David Gardner and ringside physician Dr. David Little for their safety. Fans still hurling things at the 2 gentlemen as they go. And this is a long walk to get back where you need to get to. And debris is being flung at both. The fans are disgusted here in Las Vegas. If you bet John Henry Lewis, you're quite happy. We see that 1 man sitting there quite happy. Unbelievable. We had just said, too, the wild card was the cut. So here in round 11, Charles cut left eye. That was the 3rd time So then again, now you just go over. You can see the first time, there's no check. The second time, 1 through 3. He survived that. The third time, 1 through 9. That's a 4. He did not survive it. Holy cow. As Golden Eagle 99, Matchmaker Extraordinaire, can't believe it. Brian Patterson says, wow. Golden Eagle 99 says, isn't that how Charles lost to Spinks? I think so. I'd have to go back and look. Well, Golden Eagle says, well, good fight, John Henry. John Henry never quit. He never quit. And isn't it funny? I just said the wild card is the cut left eye. That's the beauty of this game. That's the beauty of boxing. John Henry never quit. He got that 20. He needed the 19 or 20. Forget about the power check. He was looking for the 19 or 20 for the cut check. So there you have it. Let's just mark that. Wow. That was a fun... I feel bad for Ezzard Charles. Oh, man. So John Henry Lewis. And we'll give you the official announcement, and we'll look at the official scorecards in a moment. But let me do this first. John Henry Lewis, winner via TKO due to cut. Round 11 over the Cincinnati Cobra, Ezzard Charles. Charles still can't believe it. His corner can't believe it. We'll give you the official announcement in moments. Wow, that's all I can say. And I like to bold this stuff. That's just me. I save these all and I go back. You can see the little tabs on the bottom. Oh, this should be Charles, not Kwa-E. Charles. Lewis. There we go. All right. So I just thought, wow. In my head, I'm like, that cut could be the, and we're going to give you all the numbers in a moment. Don't go away. Well, you can go away if you want. I appreciate that you stayed. So here are the final numbers. Ezzard Charles, at the time of the stoppage, which was quite early, about a minute 40 into round number, there's still about 2:20 left, or thereabouts, in round 11. At the time of the stoppage, due to the cut. At the time of the stoppage, due to the cut. Ezzard Charles still had 45 stamina points with under 6 minutes to go. John Henry Lewis was negative 46 stamina. Again, that doesn't mean anything unless you're fighting the bare knuckle rules, which we're going to have some of those fights up. The bare knuckle fights. That should be fun. John Henry Lewis went fatigued in round 7, I believe. Because I forgot to mark it, but we knew at the time when he went fatigued, I think it was round 7 when I went back. Ezzard Charles landed 136 punches at the time of the stoppage. John Henry Lewis landed 65, but those 65 punches were enough to bust open Ezzard Charles for a TKO victory. I had, after 10 rounds, Ezzard Charles up by 7 points unofficially, 99-92. We're going to get the official announcement, and we will get a look at the official scorecards. As Cutter Historical says, brutal loss for Charles. Brian Patterson says, I haven't been this shocked since Tyson versus Douglas. But Hardstrom Sports Replay says, thanks, Al. All right, here we go. Here is your official announcement as the crowd has settled down a little bit after hurtling debris at the referee Dave Gardner and ringside physician Dr. David Little, who had to be escorted out quickly by security, with debris still falling upon them. Your winner, due to TKO stoppage of a cut on near the left eye of Ezzard Charles, John Henry Lewis, your winner via TKO, round 11. Round 11. So now let's take a look We're getting a hold of the official scorecards, and we have a hold of them, and I'll show you. I'll read them first. Judge Steeler Fan had it 97-93 for Ezzard Charles. Judge Anthony Crooks had it 98-91 for Ezzard Charles. Judge Ron Juckett had it 97-93 Ezzard Charles. Though Ron Juckett had some peculiar scoring as we went along. But he had the right person winning. All three had the right person winning. So did I. But this is not amateur boxing. This is professional boxing. And the cut, which we had just said, let's move this down here. And let's move this over here. So this is a scorecard here. You see Steeler Fan 97-93. Anthony Crooks 98-91. Ron Juckett 97-93. So that's how they scored it. It's just funny. I just said you got to watch out for that cut. That's the wild card. Put this back up here. And put this back up here. So Ezzard Charles, that is a heartbreaking loss. As Cutter Historical said, brutal loss for Charles. Indeed it was. Well, that was a fun fight. I'd like to thank the GoldenEagle99 Matchmaker Extraordinaire. Thank you very much, my friend. Glory Days Boxing, very fun game. You can buy the PDF. If you know how to use a little Excel and snippet, you can do the same thing that I just did and use a ball roller. Or you can roll your own dice and use snippets. You don't have to print up everything. I buy the sets. I enjoy the sets. I have every card set, PDF, and the print copies. And we're going to give you some rolling of the dice in the near future. But I just love this setup. I love this setup because I can put photos up and things like that. But we will roll, when we do the bare knuckles, I think we're going to roll those on the tabletop. This is tabletop still, it's just I'm using Excel. So, again, Glory Days Boxing, Glory Days College Football. I got to get some Glory Days College Football on the channel. Now that we have the new camera, you can actually see it. I was doing that by PDF too. I got the whole box set in, the cards and everything. So we'll have some fun with that. College football season is almost upon us. So we'll have that up. I think we'll start hedging towards more boxing and wrestling. Get away from baseball and the other stuff. There's plenty of people who do baseball. I mean, I still do baseball. I play a lot of it offline. So. But we'll still do the normal stuff we always do. But I think we'll start hedging more towards boxing, different games, and wrestling, and some other fun stuff. So I'd like to thank everybody. I'd like to thank Cutter Historical, Brian Patterson, Bernard Strom Sports Replays. Check out Cutter Historical's channel, Bernard Strom Sports Replays. I'd like to thank GoldenEagle99, Matchmaker Extraordinaire, as I've said. Richie L1991, he has a YouTube channel. Check that out. Legend Sports Universe, another fun content creator in our community. Mr. Bassman, thank you to one and all. If you enjoyed the stream, whether you watch now or later, please hit that like button. If you have not subscribed and you want to, that'd be awesome. If you do subscribe, hit the bell for notification when we go live. Check out all the other wonderful content creators in our community. Stay safe, be smart, treat people the way they want to be treated. God bless. I love you all. Take care. Bye-bye. Ezzard Charles, another brutal loss, in the words of Cutter Historical, and I agree, it's just heartbreaking. But the cut ends it for Ezzard Charles in the 11th. John Henry Lewis never quit, and he comes away with I can't say controversial because the cut was bad. It is what it is. He kept punching. He busted Charles open. He wins due to TKO. That's all, folks.